Kitakuru.
Hey everyone, KitaSean here, so welcome back to another Fate Grand Order video. So, as you guys know, the JP version of FGO is currently doing a recollection quest for Lost Belt Chapter 5, and these last 2 days we actually got buffs for servants that are related to Lost Belt Chapter 5, obviously Europa being one of them, Dioscuri being the other one. We're going to be talking about Europa here a little bit, but I do want to say that we are expecting another buff later tonight, maybe in these next couple of days as well, because we do believe, Lost Belt Chapter 5 related servants are going to get a buff, so hopefully we get to see some servants, get buffed tonight and as the days go by. So let's go ahead and talk about Europa here. So Europa, I'm actually really happy to see that she got a buff. Obviously, Europa never had a buff before. Same thing with Dioscuri, never got a buff before. So I'm super happy, super excited to see Europa get a buff because she's honestly a servant that I've never really used, but I've always wanted to, but never just had the opportunity to use her because I just didn't really think she was beneficial to take with me when I have so many other stronger servants to take with me to clear these quests easier. Now Europa, her third skill gets this buff, and originally the third skill had a 60% chance to inflict charm on the enemies for 1 turn, reduce their defense and critical chance for 3 turns 10 to 20% on a 7 turn cooldown. Now the third skill is on a 6 turn cooldown, so obviously you can use this effect, this skill faster after using it, and it increases the party's attack on earth attributed enemies and charmed enemies for 3 turns 20 to 30% depending on the level. I actually like this buff. I do think there is a problem with it, which I'll talk about in a bit, but obviously there are a lot of earth attributed enemies in FGO, so you're gonna obviously get that additional 30% buff on damage, and again you give it to the entire party, so they're going to be able to do some pretty good damage with that buff. Now the charm is where I have a problem on, because first of all, the charm for Europa is 60%, so there is a 40% chance that it's not going to hit. And then not only that, a lot of servant enemies, a lot of boss enemies, they're kind of resistant to charm, so it's not really going to inflict them, so that's kind of a waste of an attack damage buff if you can't charm them. So I do kind of wish that they gave this charm percentage a little bit more higher, like 80%, or maybe in the future if they give her another buff they can probably give like, hey, a higher chance to inflict charm or something like that, like it's like second or first skill, you put it on there and then you use her third skill to inflict that. So yeah, I just feel like it's a waste of like 2 turns, because like again the charm is only 1 turn as well, even if it does hit, so you just lose 2 turns of like potential damage, right? So I do think that you kind of need to pair her up with other servants that have charm skills to get the full potential out of this. So that's my only con about this skill. Other than that, I do think it's a really good buff for her. Now let's go ahead and talk about Dioscuri. Dioscuri has always been a very solid saber in FGO, even in today's standard. I think they're actually still a really relevant servant. If you don't have the OP servants, the OP sabers, the OP single target berserkers that are arts type, I think Dioscuri is still very solid. I mean, they're a servant that I kind of wanted just because of their characters, but I still think they are still really solid when it comes to today's standards in FGO. Now they can loop, they have like pretty solid damage, but I do think they lack damage, and I wanted them to get the MP buff if anything, but their third skill needed to get to the 5-star standard, because their third skill increases performance on quick and arts, but 10 to 20%, and 20% max for a 5-star servant is like when FGO first released, or 4-star or lower kind of thing, right? So that's not 5-star standard whatsoever. For me, a 5-star should at least be 30% at max level for the skill, or again like 50% max, right? That's what today's standard is. But again, their max was 20% for both that quick and arts, so to increase it to 30 is, you know, the baseline standard for 5 stars now. And then not only that, they increase they can increase their MP battery now with that MP battery, which is actually pretty nice. Now again, MP looping, they're solid, they can do that even before this buff, and they had no problem doing that. So for that MP battery to be added onto this, they did, honestly, they did not need it, but like, it's just like, hey, we want to give all our servants some kind of battery just in case. Like we think every servant deserves a battery, and I think that's why they just added. So basically bringing the skill up to 5-star standard and then throw in a battery because every other servant has a battery. And of course the evade it's always been there. So yeah, I think Europa and Dioscuri finally got buffs is nice and everything, but I feel like Dioscuri, they could have made the MP a lot stronger. They could have buffed the MP, given more damage there. In Europa, they still gotta fix that charm in some way. But I would love to see another buff for the two of them in the future. So yeah, that's basically going to be about it. A quick little video on these two servants, because I didn't really release a video these last couple of days because I just fell asleep after, you know, or before 2 a.m. PST, because that's when the new information comes out for FGO here in California. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see what kind of buff we get later tonight, if we do get one. So yeah, but anyways, thanks for watching, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about these two buffs, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.